Donald Trump versus Jeb Bush. Fight looks like it's getting a little teeth. Let's look at Jeb's latest commercial and talk about it on the other side.
I lived in New York City and Manhattan all my life, okay? So, my views are a little bit different than if I lived in Iowa.
Partial birth abortion.
I'm very pro-choice. I am pro-choice in every respect and as far as it goes.
As far as single payer, it works in Canada. It works incredibly well in Scotland.
But the fact is that 25% for high-income people, it should be raised substantially.
Who would you like representing the United States in a deal with Iran, with this regime there?
Well, I think Hillary would do a good job. Hillary Clinton, I think, is a terrific woman. I mean, I'm a little biased because I've known her for years.
I know her very well. She's very talented. And
I live in New York. She lives in New York. And I've known her and her husband for years, and I really like them both a lot.
Do you identify more as a Democrat or a Republican?
Well, you'd be shocked if I said that in many cases I probably identify more as a Democrat.
Then why are you a Republican?
I have no idea. I lived in New York City and Manhattan all my life, okay? So, my views are a little bit different than if I lived in Iowa.
Very interesting. Now, if you guys have been following my blog post, and I don't know if you would have seen this one, don't look like it has gotten that many views, but a few blog posts back, I did one entitled Jeb Bush versus Donald Trump, fake ass fight. At that time, I was under the mindset that the Donald Trump campaign was smoke and mirrors, just something to kind of ease the way for Jeb to become president. My logic was that the Donald would be so outlandish that Jeb would look safe by comparison. But as the campaign season continues to trudge on, I started to kind of rethink that position. To me, the Donald, if he was ever on script, most definitely looked off script since then. He says whatever's on his mind, and he's been attacking any and everybody. Just didn't matter. Now, Jeb's latest campaign commercial, which is a negative ad against Donald Trump, kind of points out that the Donald had some Democratic leanings early in his career. But none of the Donald supporters are holding that against him. They say the man has evolved. Heard somebody even say or bring up that Ronald Reagan was himself a Democrat before, as this person put it, he came to his senses. So nothing seems to be hurting Donald Trump. He can say what he want to say. Past opinion pieces, have no effect. The people love him. His people love him, and they really, really don't like Jeb. Jeb, and I've said this too a few times. Jeb to me just doesn't look like he's into running for president. It's almost like he's running to check something off his bucket list. I see no passion there. Donald Trump has called the man a low energy guy. I think that's putting it mildly. He seems totally disinterested in what he's doing. And so it begs the question, why exactly is he continuing to do it? Now, as far as that commercial is concerned, or that campaign piece, which was intended to be a hatchet job against Donald Trump, I think that might backfire. In fact, it could possibly end up helping the Donald in some cases, because, and I say it this way, if the fact that Donald Trump held some Democratic positions previously, and even in some of his current comments, he still says some things that could be considered Democratic, and the Republicans don't, or the Republicans that support him, if they don't have a problem with that, and then some Democrats might look at some of his past positions and say, hey, Republican positions today in a mix with some Democratic positions from yesterday sounds like a centrist. Now, the Donald is still going to have some problems with the Hispanic vote. the Latino vote. Now, I've said this many times before. The Latinos are a valuable voting bloc. You combine that with an African-American voters, that's a formidable obstacle for anyone to come across if you can't hit solid numbers with one or the other of those groups. And for right now, Republicans are not going to get the majority African-American vote, even though I have a few conservative African-American friends, but it's simply not enough to make a dent in the Democrats' hold on African-Americans. And with the Donald sort of statements these last few months, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to get the number of Latinos that he would need to make the race viable. That's a hard truth, and I did a blog post stating that a few months back. I had the blog post was titled "Hard Truths for Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump." I've since sort of changed my hard truths for Bernie Sanders fans. I think that he has a viable shot at getting the Democratic nomination, particularly if Hillary's email situation continues to haunt her. But the Donald, where I think that he could win the Republican nomination, I think the national race is going to be challenging for him, to say the least, if he can't do something to get the Latinos to support him a little more. And certainly you can't do that if you're continuing with some of the rhetoric that he's been sort of putting out there. But all that being said, I don't think it's a fair matchup between him and Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush cannot fight Donald Trump on Donald Trump's grounds. Donald Trump is a good old-fashioned New Yorker from Brooklyn. He's going to take it to the streets. Jeb Bush is he was governor of Florida, but he's basically a New Englander, preppy kid. It's like it's so unfortunate for Jeb, because you can't beat him in business and you can't beat him on the streets, and then your game is supposed to be a political game, and it's just so unfortunate for you that in this election season your side don't like politicians. So it's like the dollar is beating you up every single way, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. So look, everybody knows who's been following my posts knows that I've been in different places with the Donald. I called him out when he said something I don't agree with. I defended him when I think that he's been unfairly attacked. But no matter what anyone says, the Donald has made this election season very, very fascinating, very, very interesting. And I, for one, look forward to hearing what he has to say each and every day. And again, Jeb, don't mess with the Donald, man. You're only going to get beat down.